Hi, I'm SS Cummings, author of the JLRJ Digital Ecosystem. That's the physical journal and the online ecosystem at our resource center. And welcome to the hive. It's so great to have you. Bees, for me, the honeybee especially, I've been involved in beekeeping for just a little bit of while, not for a long time. But there's something fascinating about bees that has held me for a little bit. So I used to wonder, how do bees move from one stage to the next? So a bee starts out as a baby bee we call them, or young bees, baby bees, and then they move on to young bees and they move on to other tasks and so on. And I wondered, how do they know that they can move from this stage to the next and at this time in their development? How is that done? You know, what enables that? Is it instinct? And I later found out that it's actually a hormone that is in their system. So there's a hormone called the juvenile hormone. When the bees, not you, when the bees have a low juvenile hormone, they are inclined to stay inside of the hive. So they do their tasks as they get older. And as the juvenile hormone, the amount increases, then their responsibility also increases. So when they're just born, it's very low. And so they are limited to cleaning the hive. They're when they get that first feeding and it gives them the hormone that they need after being born, that low hormone tells them to start focusing on their little area, cleaning up the cells, making sure it's ready for the next egg, for the next bee egg. Then, as they get older, they become nurse bees, and so they take care of the other bees. Then they start cleaning, they start building out wax, they start doing other activities. They're doing guarding, they're doing gatekeeping, making sure the hive is clean, that there are no dead bees, and there are no pests inside as much as they can manage. Some pests they can't get rid of, but what they can manage, they will do. And then they move on to guarding the hive's entrance and then they forage. So, what exactly, how is this relevant to my job loss experience? Great question. And I answer it by telling you that somehow this assures me that my experience of losing my job is similar to me getting a hormone upgrade. So I was at one level of baby bee, so to speak, in my office, depending on instructions, depending on what to do, somebody to give me the tasks, and so on. But as I matured and my level of responsibility increased, then nature had it that way. And I will tell you quite frankly, I depend on the Lord, and so I one of my sayings is that the Lord pushed me out of my comfort zone. Very painful, but it was the way I accepted it. Coming back to the analogy with the bee, it simply means to me that I am now in an upgraded mode. So I've now gotten my full dose of juvenile hormone. And so I can now go out and forage just like the forager bee. The forager bee has the highest level of juvenile hormone in the hive. She's literally geared to go out and get nectar, go out and get pollen to bring back so that the hive can thrive. There's food. No food for the babies, food for the drones, food for each other. There's energy in the hive. The hive can thrive because she has now been given that level of responsibility with an increase of the juvenile hormone. In nature, as you mature, you're given different responsibilities. And as you can see, nature does that. The plant goes from one step, from the seedling to the big tree and the fruits, and it goes in a cycle and so on. But let's say that the hive is under attack. At that time, when the hive is under attack, no matter what stage of life the bee is at, she becomes a guard bee, a warrior, a fighter, a defender of the hive. So even if she was just born, just came out of the cell, just started cleaning, she's a young bee, the juvenile hormone is increased and she immediately becomes aggressive, which is why whenever bees think you are invading their area, the entire hive starts raging against you, the intruder, because the entire hive, the juvenile hormone is increased to such a level, and you start smelling that sweet banana, ripe banana smell, telling you that danger exists. So, what if job loss can be seen as either of these two instances? One, a natural progression where you are mature enough to move out, to move on, or the other example where you're being forced. Well, it means therefore that you have been given the ability to do what is necessary to move on to the next step. You have been given the key to move to the next step. So, job loss is daunting for those who didn't expect it. If you didn't have a plan, it's terrible. The earth moves and you want to disappear. But trust me, there is meaning in that experience. And this meaning is something that you have to dig deep to find. I encourage everyone, journal about it. That's why we have the Job Loss Reframing Journal, the actual book. Because that experience can still give you pollens of value that you might not have known about yourself. That is why the JLRJ Resource Center has the skills translator for you to start looking at the benefits that you have gained from your experience. So we're not just bees randomly doing anything. We've lost our jobs, but we have been given another purpose, another identity, another task. We're moving on to another place. It's a flip side. And I keep repeating it. It's a flip side of job loss. And that is why we have the Job Loss Reframing Journal. We're not focusing on the job loss. That's just one aspect. That's just the part that will give us, after we've done an assessment, will give us the tools that we need to move on. The tools that we will need to be able to liberate our brains from laziness and the idea that we don't matter and that we're waiting on someone, to learning, where we start exploring the resource center, that centralized place with external links and tools to help us, mass open online campuses to help us learn. We have to develop those skills. We have to liberate ourselves from those old beliefs. We have to learn new things. And in learning the new things, that is when we begin to be able to explore, to move forward. You understand? We're able to jumpstart after we've gotten those new skills, and we're able to join the new community. So for me, job loss is has been reframed. It's an opportunity, but it is also an opportunity to be my best self. And I don't take that lightly because where I'm coming from, you're busy. You're busy at work. You go home late. Your brain is occupied. You get home, you're tired. You have a family to take care of. There are things to do. There's very little space, mental space for you to do other things. You get home, you're so overworked. And having lost the job, that is when I was able to start reevaluating who I am in the work world, start reevaluating the value that I can give, finding the value. I didn't have a skills translator formally, but I understood that when you're doing resume writing, you have to reframe the activity that you're doing to outline the skills that you would have gotten. And so the skills translator is just a formal way of acknowledging those skills that I would have gotten to put on my resume. If I'm in a job and I'm looking to say, expand my knowledge, I want to do something else, the skills translator is also there for me to assess where I want to go. The Job Loss Reframing Journal provides a professional development plan where we can outline our thoughts for the future after making our assessment, bawling. It's exciting. After writing down our grief, acknowledging the grief that we have felt because we've lost our job, acknowledging that grief, and then moving on to the next step. Let's think about what we want to do next. Putting us in doing mode. We are now being given that juvenile hormone and it's time to move on. So, again, I encourage you, thank you for joining the Job Loss Reframing community. And as we grow, this is where we understand and we confirm that we are not what we used to be. We are not stuck in one job. That does not define us. We are defined by our ability to choose one thought at a time to recover, to move to the next step. We are defined by our ability to thrive like the bee. Be encouraged. Remember, keep pollinating purpose. You are so awesome. You are awesome. I encourage you, every job loss reframer, whether job loss is you've lost your job description, your formal job description, or your brain is now unsatisfied with the monotony that you have endured and you're looking to move elsewhere, you're moving to expand your borders. Please have a great day and keep pollinating purpose.